And this text, of course, is very dear to me, to my heart. It's, I translated both the root text and the commentary myself. And I've also personally done a retreat based on this text, and it's part of my daily practice as well. I don't go through the whole Mahamudra instructions because that takes a lot of time. So I tend to be cherry picking bits here and bits there. But you do need to go through it entirely first, and ideally do a retreat, and then you get a sense of the overall instruction that's available there, and then you can start cherry picking. Cherry picking presupposes the whole thing. Whereas if you cherry pick right from the beginning, what you're picking may not be the most important bit, So I'm so happy that Khensur Rinpoche is teaching, and I have a deep affection for him as one of my former students, but also as someone who is a truly amazing teacher. I mean, he teaches mostly in the Tibetan language, but I know he has a base in Italy, so he teaches mainly in Europe. And in North America, he's less well known. So in my hope is that through Sacred Stream's introduction of him to North America and offering this platform to teach this very important Gelug-Mahamudra text that is so dear to the tradition, and that, it will be a good platform to introduce him. And anyone who will meet him in person will also be deeply affected, deeply touched, because he embodies the teaching. He's humble, he's radiant, he's relaxed. There is a sense of peace in him. Sometimes even when he has medical, he has been going through some difficult health conditions, but even then, state of mind is very serene. And that is an amazing quality which all, aspire to have, because the life is always, that's one of the amazing thing about Buddhism. Buddhism tells us that, be realistic about life. If you go through life expecting everything to be hunky-dory, or if you look at, world through a rose-tinted glass, you're in for a shock and disappointment, because, and therefore a sense of preparedness, which is based upon a deeper understanding of impermanence, the fact of uncertainty, no self, then the mind becomes more resilient. I mean, it's a sort of paradoxically, by understanding the nature of reality, coming to terms with the unpredictability and uncertainty of life, in a sense, it frees you, because otherwise you become a prison of your own expectation. And when the world turns out to be very different from what you expect or what you want, then a lot of people can't handle that. And that is a source of problem and suffering. So I think this, the Mahamudra teaching that Khensur Rinpoche is going to lead you through will really, a very important part of that is the skills to observe your own mind and be with it and remain in that state of evenness without any emotional kind of judgment or content. It's similar to what modern mindfulness teaches, but there the instructions are much more profound. For example, like when ruminations or thoughts arise, you just, as the text says, you look at the face of the thoughts themselves, as it were, like directly gazing upon them. It's a powerful kind of imagery of, like, instead of suppressing them, instead of pushing them away, you acknowledge and you just look at the thought. And then the funny thing about thoughts is that once you become aware of the thoughts arising, you don't give them fuel, and then they dissolve. It's a very powerful, technique of observing the mind and always maintaining that equilibrium. What the Buddhist masters call the evenness of the mind, or stillness of the mind. And that stillness of the mind is a function of cultivation.